Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the remainder of my remarks be placed separately into the record.
Without objection.
Over the weekend, my Democratic colleagues put on a terrific show for the American people, arguing over which multi-trillion-dollar spending bill that they wanted to pass first. Not if they were going to pass one, which one they wanted to pass first. And from what I was hearing at home in Tennessee, they're saying, we don't want either of these. None of this should ever be passed and signed into law. Those that I spoke with also wanted me to pass on a message. Doesn't matter if they were Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian. They said what happened here in Washington over the weekend was just about the most tone-deaf and disrespectful thing that they had seen take place in Washington in a long time. All year, Tennesseans have been asking themselves, why is it that the Democrats are pushing so hard to spend more than $1 trillion on a so-called infrastructure package that really isn't about infrastructure? Why are they fighting so hard for a multi-trillion-dollar social spending package that prioritizes all the wrong things? Tennesseans have caught on to this insanity. They know with absolute certainty that every time Joe Biden's government steps in to take control over an aspect of their lives, the goal is not to make their lives easier. The goal is to complicate their lives. The goal is to take away some of their individual freedom, some of their choice. There's no other explanation as to why they would do this in the face of some of the issues that we have, like serious supply chain vulnerabilities, unsustainable inflation, no, it is not temporary, and levels of divisiveness and mistrust that have made even the most unplugged, apolitical people that I know sit up and speak out. The fact that more people are paying attention is really a problem for my Democratic colleagues. They know that there's no chance that the majority of the American people will just go along with what it is that they are proposing. As I said, it doesn't matter if they're Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian. They're looking at this and they're saying, hey, wait a minute, these guys that are over there, every one of them, what are they trying to do? They are trying to drive this socialist agenda, tear down our institutions, and build it back as a socialist state, which is exactly why the Democrats are opting for a power grab rather than an honest debate. By seizing that control and taking away that freedom, they're slowly but surely setting themselves up to redefine the relationship between the people and the government. Eventually, this will allow the Democrats to destroy our most important institutions and remake them in the image of the grand socialist future that they're so desperate to build. If you can't beat them, and the Democrats haven't been able to beat the people, then what do? They go about, the Democrats, and they just move the goalpost. They've shown this intent time and again over the course of decades, but let's start with more recent events. The federal health care takeover destroyed the concept of the doctor-patient relationship and replaced it with layers of bureaucracy and now rationing. Over the past 3 years, my Democratic colleagues have tried multiple times to force through an election takeover bill that would federalize voting. That is right, not local control like you have had federalizing elections, intentionally expose conservative donors to an unhinged and violent opposition, and make the ballot box vulnerable to fraud. That is what they're trying to do. Earlier this year, we discovered that the Democrats thought that opening up everyone's pocketbook for scrutiny by the IRS would be an acceptable way to pay for their so-called infrastructure package. It's a neat trick. It's also completely and utterly despicable. And people are not buying what the Democrats are selling. They do not want socialism ruling their life. They do not want the United States of America to be a socialist nation. The majority in this chamber have accused the Republicans in this chamber of many things, and most of them untrue. But what is true, that we are indeed getting in the way of this reckless, destructive agenda. That is because it is our duty to protect this country, to protect our freedoms. Joe Biden and the Democratic Party control the entire U.S. government. That's right. We had an election, and you're in charge. That government has already made it clear that mandate or no mandate, they have their eye on the prize. And that prize is to take away your freedom, give that over to the government, and leave you living in a socialist nation. All it will cost is all of your money, all of your principles, all of your freedom. That's right. That is the future that they, the Democratic Party, envision for you and your family. They, the Democratic Party, making all the decisions. They, the Democratic Party, winning all the elections because they federalize them and they let the federal government decide who wins, with them in charge. If the Democrats wish to make those sacrifices, they are more than welcome to go about trying to do it, because the American people are not buying the agenda that they are pushing. Every day I talk to Tennesseans. What they want? Freedom. Boundless freedom that allows them to experience their version of the American dream, that allows their children to dream big dreams and then live in a country where they can work to make those dreams come true. Preserving that is a worthy fight. I yield the floor.